quieto, pile,
Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. It's always good to see you all again. And yeah, today we're just going to be continuing on with the alchemy that we were working on yesterday. If you recall, I was kind of stuck on an issue with my ability system, which I have resolved. I resolved that last night. So we are free to continue working on legendary abilities, which I'm going to test. I'm not entirely sure if I'm in love with the idea of legendary abilities just yet for legendary alchemy cards, but we're going to give it a shot and we're going to see how it feels. And if it needs to change, then it will change. But before we get into all that, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. It's a dark fantasy inventory management auto battler where you collect cards, traverse a hostile world, and wield alchemy to mutate cards, combine effects, and shape your build. That's just right off the Steam page. So anyway, if that sounds interesting to you, check that out. You could also support me on Patreon. If you subscribe at this top tier here for at least 1 month, I'll send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, and you will have your name listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So this is a great way to support the development of the project, and it's also a way to sort of pre-purchase Alchemortis because you won't have to buy it on Steam. Again, that's if you subscribe for at least 1 month there. And also, I have my Udemy courses available for sale. This is the main way that I'm making money. So through the Patreon, through my course sales, and through residual sales of Gunforged, which is not that many. That's how I'm making my money right now, and it's not enough, but that's why I'm working on Alchemortis, trying to put Alchemortis out there. But if you can support me, anything you could do to help would be appreciated, and you get stuff out of it as well. So you can buy one of my games, buy one of my courses, and that's a great way to support me. Anyway, and you can also like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join the Discord. Those are all linked below. All right. Ads out of the way. Hello, Defected. Welcome back. Good to see you. A the Ant, good morning. You're not last. That is true. Clickertail. Well, I guess we don't know that if you're last or not yet. We'll have to see when the stream ends. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome. Good morning. I'm weird. Hi, Pascal Age. Welcome back. Stands to reason most of us are. I think most people are weird, yeah. Updating the game we're working on. Let's see. Drinking coffee and sitting outside enjoying the fresh air. Oh, I can't do that here. It's like 20 degrees. 20 degrees in American units, which is below 0 degrees Celsius. Hello, Alien. Thank you, Stupbill, for the IDR 10,000. Very much appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. That's always very generous. And we have the message Yummers. Thank you, Snupbill, and welcome back to the stream. Always good to see you. Look at these Yummers. Hello. Hello, Bubblegum Lord. Welcome. Buy this man's game. Let's make it rain. Thank you. Good morning, Ninja Link. Good to see you again. Definitely will not stay long enough to have the last message. Hello, Yito. It's been a minute. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. All right, so we got a lot of chatters in here already, which is great. Okay, so yeah, we kind of ended yesterday's stream trying to work on these legendary abilities here. I have this one legendary ability which applies 1 fire. Fire applied increases by 1 permanently each time this ability is executed, but turn cooldown is increased by 8. So the core problem in here was that I wanted to use this self-turn cooldown modification here inside of a non-combat composed ability, but I wanted this non-combat composed ability to be part of the permanent fire growth ability. So it's all together, right? And what I could not support previously was having a nested non-combat composed ability inside of an ability list of a composed ability. So I fixed all that, and basically that was just a matter of reshuffling some functionality around. So right now I can collect composed ability recursively here. Collect composed abilities recursively. What this does is this just creates a flattened list of all of the base composed ability that are sort of in the ability tree. And then what I could do is I could call flatten composed abilities to then further flatten those out and extract out all of the base abilities out of those composed abilities. So anyway, we don't need to get into that too much, but I had to rework how some of the ability fetching is, because really this is an ability tree, this whole system. You start with your top level abilities, which are the abilities that will actually show up as descriptions on the card. But then those top level abilities can have sub abilities within them. And those sub abilities can either be very basic building block abilities, which just have a very specific and narrow function, or those sub abilities could be other composed abilities, which then serve as like the root level node of another ability tree, right? And so I needed to do a bunch of recursion through that ability tree to find all instances of non-combat abilities as deep in the tree as the tree is deep, and then pull those out so that I can execute those as part of this update update board state contingent abilities here. So anyway, all of that said, that ability now works. So if I go to my run manager and I go ahead and add that legendary abilities to populate player cards, populate player cards in here, add composed abilities, and we are going to do what? Legendary abilities dot abilities 0 dot duplicate card. Oh, this needs to be an array. Okay. So now if I go in here and I take a look at this, does anyone here know about Skylanders? I do not. Hello, Jackie Daytona. Welcome back. Good to see you. How much do you think Alchemora's percentage finished in progress? I would say I want to split up content and features. I would say it's probably 60 to 70% finished in terms of features, and probably 50% finished in terms of content. I think that's what I would say. Anyway, so we got this candle here. When the I is me. I don't know what that means. Anyway, candle. This typically has a turn cooldown of 8, but because it's got this legendary ability, the turn cooldown has been increased by 8. So I'm not entirely sure if I know if I'm gonna use this ability, this legendary ability here. But the point is that this ability, which is marked like just here, this legendary ability here, the point is that this has a sub ability in it, which is increasing the turn cooldown of the card. And that is being discovered now by the ability system. So this update board state contingent abilities, these are abilities that are only called whenever the board state changes, because there may be a like a turn cooldown or a crit chance or something modifier, and that doesn't need to update every execution in combat. It just needs to update based on like the position of the card on the board. And one such contingent ability, I would say, is the turn cooldown modification. This number, this 8 in here, this 8 here is not going to change. So we don't need to execute this during combat, and we actually don't want to execute it during combat because we need to update this turn cooldown number as soon as possible. So anyway, that's all wired up. There was something that I was going to do next. Oh, I want to test just one thing, which I did not test last night. I want to make sure that copying abilities works. So if I do, let's do rat and also ceremonial dagger. I just want to see if the rat will copy it. It means nonsense. That's what I figured. That's what I figured. Okay, so the rat copied from ceremonial dagger, apply 1 poison. Cool. So this should work. Okay. So now I can test this, and we'll just make sure that it works. Cool. All right, that's all working. Cool. So that means we can just go ahead and start making some legendary abilities. I think what I might do first, though, is I kind of want to just do a different visual indicator for a legendary ability. I think that would be nice. So let me figure out where my icons are. Ability label. So we've got the enchant texture. Where is this coming from? Why is this one not outlined? That's 9 by 9. That's 9 by 9. Oh, probably because I can't outline it. Interesting. Might have to redo these icons at some point, but that's okay. So this is UI card enchant indicator, UI card ability indicator. Love the styling on this. Thank you, small guy. I appreciate that. And welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Assets UI card. Uh-oh. Debuff indicator.a sprite buff indicator. Oh, do I just do these on different... I guess I just do these on different A-sprite files. So I'll just open up this one, and then I'll save this as legendary indicator.a-sprite. Okay. And we will go ahead and do something for the legendary. So... I really actually don't know what to do. For the legendary indicator here. Maybe I'll do, because I have a triangle for the negative alchemies. So I wonder if doing something like that for the legendary would be appropriate. Let's see. Maybe not. Maybe it should be mostly white. Oops. That doesn't look very legendary, does it? We could try some other things. Anyone have any idea for an icon? Be a shield or a sword? Sword could work. Hello, Leonard. Happy New Year to you as well. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. Make the legendary icon be a phylactery. I have a 9x9 canvas, so it can't be that detailed. Triforce of Alchemy. Actually, phylactery sounds good. What about a circle or a square with a pixel in the middle? Let's see. I kind of like the idea of... Why can't I do anything? Oh, there we go. I kind of like the idea of maybe a circle, or maybe like a... Try to make it look like a sphere a little bit. No. Nope. I don't like that. Maybe something like that could work. I'm just messing around. We're just goofing off here. That doesn't strike me as very legendary. Cat, can you get down? Thank you. That doesn't strike me as very legendary, but... maybe a sword would work. Let's see. Can I do a sword here? Do I want to do... Maybe I want to do this instead. Something like that, and then I can do maybe not that color, this color. Hey, that doesn't look too bad. I don't really like this hilt part, though. Maybe I'll just make that thinner. Yeah, maybe thinner is better. And maybe I'll throw a purple in here as well. That can work. I think that looks decent. I could make this thicker, I guess. No. Maybe that works. Maybe that's fine. That kind of looks good. I think that's fine. Cheese it. It's a donut. Maybe make a star. I already kind of have a star, but yeah, it could work. Hard to come up with good ideas on such a small canvas size. It is, yeah. Pixel art, baby. What about crown? Ooh, a crown would work. Or a gem. Looks cool, but I think if it's the legendary, I would guess it's related to damage, not rarity. Yep. A crown could work. A star could work. Let's see. Can I do a crown? It's going to be very hard, I think, but... It's going to be very hard, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. I don't think that looks pretty good either. Okay, let's try another one. Can I do a star? Oops. Something like that could work. Yeah, something like that could work. Do I make it thicker though? Let's see. Maybe that'll work. Maybe this will work. I mean, that's kind of okay, I guess. Just sent an idea for a legendary icon. Let's see. Oh, I see. Yeah, that was kind of the pattern that I started with. Legendary icon concept. It's in the Discord, yeah. I'd leave that middle plume out as it makes it not look like a crown instead of 4 small plumes, whatever you call them. Kind of looks like a mask with 3 spikes. Hello V, welcome back. Make the crown from the same angle as the one from Pokemon, aka the King's Rock. I don't know Pokemon, so I don't know the reference, I'm sorry, but welcome Enigma. Good to see you. Looked like fire, yeah. I get to the stream as the first thing I see is... It looks like a Cheez-It. Got me craving tiny cheese-flavored snack bites. They're made with real cheese. Don't buy into the Cheez-It propaganda. The real cheese is just a light dusting of dehydrated cheddar that they pour on their batch. Do not succumb to the programming. Yeah, it kind of looks... Okay, let's do something else. I don't know, I'm just drawing stuff. Yeah, it looks more like a candelabra or something. Let's just try the... I kind of liked the simpler star here. More so along what the Ant was suggesting. I think something like that. Simple enough, it can look nice. And I can do... You know, I can make it look... sparkly. To some extent. Something like that might work. Cannot even tell if that's supposed to be a crown yet, neither can I. Space Invaders. Hello, Nicholas Dev, welcome back. In Magic the Gathering, legendary cards have different shaped frame. Maybe that could work. I could do a different frame for legendary cards, but this is for the ability icon. So this is the legendary ability. How the legendary cards are displayed themselves is going to be a different concern. Make the canvas size bigger. Put the concept of the crown in the Alchemor's feedback channel in the Discord. Not my best work, but you get the general idea. I just think I don't have enough room for the crown. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think a crown is going to work. I'm looking at your mock-up here. I think, honestly, I either like this simple little legendary icon here, or that one's okay. Don't like the crown. Honestly, I like this sword, and I like the star. I think for me, it's either between the sword or the star. I think the star matches the ability icons more. Just matches that theme more. So I think I'll do this one. You know, this is all subject to change too. Like, I can redo this at some point, but I'm just going to go ahead and export that. And then we'll go ahead and get that into the game, which should be relatively easy. I think this is going to be like 2 lines of code. I think that's it. I think that's all I need to do. We build. The sword could be used for something else. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Legendary texture. Legendary indicator. All right, let's see what happens. Oops. It did not work. I know why. Duplicated dot is legendary ability is equal to is legendary ability. Forgot to do that. So it was like 5 lines of code, okay? Give me a break. Bam! There's the legendary indicator. Okay, I think that works fine. Yeah, that'll work. Anyway, gotta bounce. Have a good stream. All right, thanks for hopping in, A the Ant, and I hope you have a good day. Hope to see you in the future. Okay. All right, good. Anyway. So yeah, I think the plan now is just to maybe get some more legendary abilities in. And we actually have to get those working with the alchemy system. But let's see. Maybe also glowing color for the description of the ability to make it stand out. How would I do that? I noticed that your tooltip moves rather smoothly. Are you not using a small output resolution? No, I am using a small output resolution. It's 640 by 360 though, so I think that's kind of like on the larger end of like a pixel art resolution. So you can't really tell, but it is moving in 1 pixel increments when I move it around. So it is following the low resolution. It's just, yeah, it's just, I think I just have a large canvas size for a pixel art game. You know, if I made it super chunky, I wonder what would happen. This is going to break everything. This would be half resolution. Anyway, I'll put those back. Sometimes you just got to do a little bit of goofing off, you know? Super chunky, yeah. Why is everything so dark? That's just the... So, a lot of people have said that the game is very dark, but I think that's mostly just because it's coming across on YouTube, and your device brightness may not be that high, so it's hard to see, especially if you're on like a mobile device. But of everyone who has played the playtest, almost no one has said the game is too dark. It looks fine on my screen. So, but that said, I am going to add like palette swap options to the game, I think, so that if the game is still too dark for you to enjoy the game, you can change the look to brighten it up, increase the contrast or whatever. So I'll put those in as like accessibility options. But yeah, I think if the game looks too dark to you, I think it's just a combination of YouTube and also maybe your device brightness. I like it super chunky. Kitty, yes. Give it a daytime mode, yeah. Well, I was thinking I could either do a palette swap, or I was actually playing around earlier with the world environment node. Because what I can do is I can do a new environment here, and then I can do background canvas, and I can do canvas max layer set to 1000. And then what I can do in here is I can do a tone map and change these things. So I could do a tone map to sort of change how the game looks. I kind of like the AGX tone map. The other thing I can do is I can also do adjustments where I can change the brightness and the contrast and the saturation. So anyway, I have the ability to just change the colors of the screen through this world environment node. And what I might do is I might just create a couple of presets myself, like a couple of world environment resources that look good, and then just allow the player to select one through the options. And so I could have like a high contrast option. I could maybe do like a palette swap, although that wouldn't be achieved through the world environment node, I don't think, but I have options available to me. Changes the whole theme to a nice and sweet alchemist. Then the game becomes called Candy Conjurer. No. Candy Conjurer is actually a really interesting name for a game. I could definitely see an alchemy style game with like a candy theme. I always thought that would be fun. You know, I think for some reason there's been like a lack of games that take place inside of like a totally candy world. I thought it would be super fun to like have, this would be a massive amount of effort, but to have like an ARPG or like a third-person RPG or something that takes place basically in Candyland, where everything you encounter is made of candy. You have to go questing in the, you know, candy cane forest or whatever. You chop down candy cane trees, get like candy cane logs or whatever. I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't really think there's a game like that, at least not that I'm aware of. Anyway. So let's do some legendary abilities here. So we got this one. I'm not entirely sure if I'm satisfied with this one in terms of how it works, but let's think of some more legendary abilities. Someone get on that. Next character is going to change all the palettes, have candy background objects, and use candy sprites. Yeah. Hi, cat. What are you doing? Okay, so I need an idea for a legendary ability. Let's see. Let's do this. New composed ability. I'm going to make it an ability that copies all healing abilities from your board. So how am I going to do this? I actually don't know how to do this. Ability copy. This is a base composed ability. Ability copy. Get contextual composed abilities. Oh, I have this copy ability here. This still implements iBoard queryable, so I'm going to need to rework this. This should actually be called copy abilities ability. Maybe? I don't know. Is copyable. The copy ability is copyable. What the heck? Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Get contextual composed abilities. So I think what I want to do in here is, instead of having max targets ability filter here, what we're going to do is we are going to do a query target provider. Actually, I probably shouldn't be passing this in directly. I think what I should just do is target provider. Get rid of this query board with final filter. We're getting rid of this iBoard queryable. Get contextual composed abilities. This is result.get targets. No. Target, what the heck? Private read only target provider. Target provider. Target provider dot get targets. Execution context. Oh, I need the execution context with state. Oh, I need the ability execution state. How am I going to do this? That is probably going to break. Does this ever need the enhanced execution context? I don't think this is ever necessary, so I'm actually going to change this. Find all implementations. I don't think this needs to have this state. So I'm just going to change this. Get targets execution context. That should dramatically simplify things. Oh, I guess not. Never mind. I already made a mistake. This is going to be tricky. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to need to figure out a way to finesse this. Query target provider, get targets, context state. I guess I need to create the full state object. Get contextual composed abilities. Why am I not able to find this? Here we go. Ability state. Abilities history entry, create abilities, executed entry. Execution state equals new ability execution state. Can I just do that? So in here, new ability execution state. Does that work? Okay, we can get rid of this max targets here. This dot target provider equals target provider. We don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need query options. We don't need this. We don't need that. Okay. Where is there still an error? Set base magnitude. Does this need to be an ability magnitude? Uh-oh. Well, I guess we're just going to delete this and see what happens. Break first, ask questions later. Break first, ask questions later. Ability copy. Where is this used? Scarecrow. Copies the abilities of up to magnitude adjacent cards. So I'm going to need to rework that one. Where else is the copy ability used? Goodness gracious. Copy adjacent poison. Yeah, so this one is going to have to be... Okay, cat, 1 sec. Okay. Legendary ability. If placed on the left side of the board, gives -1 all cooldowns on the right side of the board. Interesting. And one that does the opposite. How are your card resources connected to these ability classes from a data perspective? Sorry, I've only just tuned in. Yeah, so the way that I'm doing it is a little bit weird, but I think it's fine. So I have my ability resources, right? So if I look, or not, I have my card resources. So like the axe here. And this resource definition just contains a bunch of data pertaining to the axe. And what happens is when a card definition resource needs to be instantiated as an actual class, not as like a card class, I have this 2-card instance here, which instantiates a new C# script as a base card type. And that script is just being loaded from the file system. So when I call initialize here, which is happening when the game first starts, the card script is loaded from my base script path, which is scripts data card. And then it's using the Pascal ID.cs. So in other words, every script, I have a script for every card definition resource. And the script has the same ID as the card itself. And the ID is just the file name here. So the ID of axe is axe with a lowercase a. Convert that to Pascal case, load the C# script. And the C# script is over here. And that's how the card script is connected to the card resource. And then in the card script, this is where I define all of the abilities that belong to that card. And that's it. Gives all cards adjacent to this card +1 to their main stat, whatever that means. Are you considering cards that buff specific damage type, like increase all fire damage dealt by cards on board by 1? Yeah, definitely. I already have several types of cards that do that. Basically, the sky's the limit. You know, we could have all kinds of stuff. There are some things that are easily supported by my current system, and then there are some things that would need a little bit of work to get to work, but yeah, we could support all kinds of things. When using Alchemy, permanently grant one other card that is not legendary an extra ability. Need to limit that somehow. Perhaps discard after so many uses. Yeah, those are good ideas too. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm still not certain if I want I'm still not certain if I want legendary abilities in the game. That's why we're just testing it, but we do have to rework some of this stuff. Query target provider is equal to new query target provider. Query target provider dot query options dot query directions is equal to adjacent. Custom filter has ability of type poison. Query target provider dot query options dot limit is equal to max targets. Then the copy ability here, I think we just pass in the query target provider there. Then we can get rid of this. Okay, and then the magnitude here, copy ability get magnitude. Yeah, I think this is just going to be private int current max targets. So this would be current max targets equals that. And then we can get rid of this. And then we can do current max targets. Get rid of this. Okay, so I think that's been reworked. We're going to have to test that, obviously. Honey, off. Good boy. Good boy. And then ability copy. What's in here? I might just rework this one. This is only used by the scarecrow. So let's try this. Var composed is equal to new composed ability. What the heck? Copy ability is equal to new copy ability. We need the query target provider in there. Oh, the other thing I forgot to do is this. Abilities.add query target provider. I hope that works. We'll see. So copy ability var query target provider adjacent. So query options adjacent. So equals new query target provider. Query options, query directions equals adjacent. Pass in the query target provider there. We don't need an ability type filter. And then I can do return new ability builder, ability configuration, copy ability. Description func. Okay. Copies the abilities of up to, so we need to get the magnitude in here. Max targets. Const int base max targets is equal to 1. Let's do this. Scaling func is equal to tier. Ability scalars, make additive scalar. I think it's an additive scalar, let's see. Yeah, additive scalar. And then we'll do var current max targets is equal to base max targets. Current max targets is equal to scalar base max targets tier. Query target provider query limit is equals current max targets. I need to do that here as well. Query target, target provider. Okay. So we're going to have to test the scarecrow as well as the rat, but we're going to get rid of this now. So that's gone. Scarecrow still has an issue. Oh, this has to be composed. Okay. Let me build and see if I left any issues on the field. Does it mean you interpret C# at runtime? No, the C# scripts are still built, but a C# script in Godot is a resource like any other resource. And so you can load a C# script as a resource and instantiate it. But it's already been compiled, it's already been built. There's no interpreting at runtime. There are also artifacts, so some of those would be better as artifacts. Right, yeah, exactly. We need to do some more artifacts. Thanks for sharing, seems like a pretty good system. Yeah, I've been getting more and more into the habit of using my file system as a sort of database to link a bunch of different things together, and then just reading the file system at the game start to build out that database into like memory, right, into lists and dictionaries and stuff. So for instance, on game startup, I actually load and initialize all of the card resources, and then I have the card definition resources as a C# class, as a C# class instance, available as a dictionary, so I can go and look up that data anytime without touching the file system. And that's also when all of the wiring up happens between all the different paths and names and stuff. And I actually like doing that a lot because, yeah, it's basically just building out a database of the content in my game on startup and then having all of these APIs through which I can easily access the data from that database. But because they start off as resources, they're easily configurable in the editor. So I can just add files, configure them in the editor, change whatever I want. I run the game, that gets all loaded up, and it's all good to go. I use a similar system, but some abilities are pure data to prevent those cases where a simple thing just has a single one existing ability. But I'm not sold on that and tempted to just have a script. Yeah, I think, yeah, to me, in my judgment, it's just a lot more straightforward to do like a script, even if that script just has one line of code. But, you know, the needs of every game are different. So it's hard to say like what the best approach is. It's very situational. Your font colors on your IDE almost look like a color palette in the game. They do kind of, yeah. Welcome, Zachary, by the way. Good to see you again. Discard this card to stop the cooldowns of enemy after X seconds at the beginning of a fight. Yeah, discarding isn't a thing, but we could definitely like do exhaust or something for that. Okay, so that built, which is surprising. I'm actually kind of scared that that built. So we need to test the rat and the scarecrow. I think the scarecrow is good to go. Candle. My terminology is to be interpreted. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Copies the adjacent abilities of up to one adjacent card. So that didn't work. Okay, that didn't work. So we're gonna have to figure out why that didn't work. Okay, so we're gonna have to figure out why that didn't work. Okay. Probably we'll need a breakpoint here. Let's just see what happens. Is the rat still working? I probably should check if the rat is still working. The rat is still working. Ceremonial dagger. Okay, so that works. Scarecrow does not work though. Oh, I probably just messed it up, didn't I? No, maybe not. Well, I didn't put a limit in there. That should be fine though. Copy ability. This is the same ability that's being used by the rat, I think. Oh, you know what? Maybe, oh, you know what? I wonder if it's an issue with the ability tree again. It's probably an issue with the ability tree. So it's probably the case that in my base card, let me see. Yeah. Oh. So I have the same problem here. So this is only looking at top level abilities, but in this case, I have an I contextual composed ability provider as a nested ability. So this is the top level ability here, which gets added, but inside of this top level ability, there are these two abilities. This ability is the I contextual. Oh, it's not. Wait a minute. Oh. Did I not... Did I remove that on accident? This needs to have that interface on it. Was that never there? Okay, maybe that will work. I don't think it's going to work, but I think I do have a top level problem, but it also wasn't marked with that, or didn't implement that interface. Let's see. Yeah, so it's still not working. I think it's still the same problem, but I do need to have this I contextual composed ability provider here. I think this will work, but now I got to figure out this top level ability issue. I think it should be relatively simple to fix this, but I need... I think what I should do is remove this from here. I should remove that from there and then figure out how to make that work here. All composed abilities of type. So this would be var flattened abilities is equal to flattened composed abilities, all composed abilities. Contextual ability provider in flattened abilities of type I contextual composed ability provider. This is ability recurs, get ability 6. Yeah, so this is flattening everything. What am I doing? So these top level abilities need to remain. So let's just rename this top level composed abilities. Okay, var all composed abilities is equal to collect composed abilities recursively. So we're going to need to have a list for collected composed abilities. We're going to do the top level composed abilities, collected composed abilities here. This actually doesn't get assigned. Then in the flattened abilities, we're going to take this collected composed abilities, and then we can do this. All right, hopefully that works. Goodness gracious. There we go. Oh, it copies the legendaries as well. Interesting. I probably don't want it to copy legendary abilities, but anyway, it is working. It's copying that from the ceremonial dagger. The rat is copying the poison ability from the ceremonial dagger, so that looks good. Let's just go ahead and double check that these are both working. So the rat should be applying poison now. Rat applied 2 poison, yeah. So it's working now. Cool. All right, can't really complain about that. It's working. Very cool, very cool. Alrighty. One of these days we're going to be able to get around to actually building the legendary abilities, but I guess there's a bunch of deficiencies in my system that need to be corrected. But that's okay. The code base is gradually getting a little bit better. All right. Yeah, we don't need any of that. Okay, cool. Rework how copied abilities work. So there were a lot of abilities that I implemented earlier on in the game, like the copying abilities, that were implemented before I had a lot of these other frameworks built out. And so it's necessary to go back and sort of like clean those up and make use of the new features that are available to me. But now we can actually do this. So we could do copy ability. We need a query target provider, var query target provider. Let's equal to new query target provider. Query target provider dot query options, query directions equals board inventory component dot query directions dot entire board. Then we're going to do query target provider custom filter card has where am I doing this? Has base ability of type. Right. I don't need to redo that. Has base ability of type heal. What does this actually do? Get base flattened abilities, collect composed abilities recursively. Right, okay, that makes sense. And then in my copy ability, we'll put in the query target provider. Then we need an ability filter here. So ability. How does this ability filter work? Card get base composed ability where X is copyable. Duplicate. Ability in composed. Ability filter invoke. Okay. I think that's right. Ability get all flattened abilities dot any. A is heal. Cool. Return new ability builder, ability configuration, abilities, query target provider, copy ability. Copies, heal abilities. Okay, we don't really have a scaling function here, which is fine, but we can put the copy healing in there. And then let's try this. Go to my run manager. Here, where is it? Populate player cards. Legendary abilities 1. And then let's go ahead and add as well a leech, lambone ring. Cool. Legendary ability. For every turn of that card, have an X% chance to have a turn cooldown of 0. So basically execute twice. Yeah, that could work. That's kind of like the Echo that I have, but Echo is not quite that anymore. Anyway. So if I put all these on and I put the candle here, copies heal abilities of all allied cards. Copied from Lambone Ring, heal 4. Copied from Leech, deal 3 damage. So the interesting thing about this ability copy system is that if there is an ability that has heal as a component of it, so like this leech does damage and heals for the damage dealt. However, let's say that the leech hits a shield, which is, you know, let's say the enemy has a shield of 5. The leech deals 3 damage. It won't actually end up healing anything because it didn't do any actual damage. It only did shield damage. I think that's how the leech works anyway. Lifesteal. Yeah, calculate remaining damage after shield. It will actually only heal if the damage dealt, if it actually did damage to the health of the enemy. If it only does shield damage, then it won't heal at all. But because there's a heal component in that ability, it ends up being copied, for example, by the candle. So it copies from leech, deal 3 damage, and heal for the damage dealt. So that counts as a heal ability, even though it may not heal every time, whereas the Lambone Ring is just a straight heal. So if I do these things now, you can see that I get a lot of healing. So yeah, that is working pretty good, I would say. That's a very simple legendary ability right there, but yeah, that was the whole reason why I reworked this copy ability. Look at how easy that was to set up this copy healing now. So now we've got a new legendary ability in place. Okay, so we've got a couple of legendary abilities in place. I want to do more for sure, but the next step, I think, is to try to figure out what to do actually about the legendary cards. Obviously, we want to add some legendary abilities to it, or a legendary ability to it. But in terms of what other benefits legendary cards have, I just don't know. But I do think, I don't know, I'm kind of up in the air, or kind of unsure whether legendary abilities are going to add much to the game. I do think that, yeah, making the legendary cards more meaningful is important, but also, you know, being able to get an alchemy output that is like a brand new thing that wasn't part of the inputs, I think can be very exciting too. So we'll see. And the legendary abilities can be designed to be like run changing or build changing. You know, you may get that heal ability, for instance, and say, oh, I'm going to reconfigure my board now to make maximal use of healing abilities, even though you might have been going for a different build or something. So yeah, I could see it working, but we got to test it out for sure. Okay, so add heal legendary ability. Instant attack is always nice. How do players know how much damage each item is doing while it's doing it, or does it not matter since it's a total damage throughout the battle? There's a combat log. So the combat log will log everything that a card does. The combat log is rather primitive right now, but I could definitely make improvements there. But yeah, there is a combat log that you can bring up, and you can look. You can look at the combat log and see that, oh, Candle did 5 damage. Like, let's say the Candle card was alchemized and it has 3 different damage abilities. It will say Candle dealt 2 damage, Candle dealt 4 damage, Candle dealt 8 or 10 damage. And so you'll be able to see basically any ability that a card executes gets logged inside of the it gets logged inside of the combat log, so you know exactly what each card is doing. But I definitely want to make it a little bit more comprehensive, the combat log. I do want to give players as much information as possible about how their build is actually going to function. I may even at some point do like a predictor, like where you can see all the actions that your board is going to take for the first, 20 turns or whatever. So you can see exactly like how everything is going to work. So if you're confused about how like a card interaction is going to go, you can bring up that little preview window and you can like read through and see, oh, I see, like this is going to execute before that, or that actually doesn't work the way that I thought it was going to, so on and so forth. Do you think that is better? Do you think that's better than somehow being able to see it in battle, not just in the log? Oh, you're saying, yeah. So I think I've been struggling with that, trying to show the damage numbers clearly so we know what's happening. To be honest, I think that this is just a problem with auto battlers. I think auto battlers are just kind of like chaotic by nature, and it's hard to really nail down what any individual card is doing at a time. I think that's just how auto battlers are. It's not like a collectible card game where like you play a card and then you instantly see what happens. It's like all these things are going at roughly the same time, and they're all interacting with each other in different ways, and like all these damage numbers are flying up everywhere. And that's a problem in backpack battles, that's a problem in the bazaar, that's a problem in team fight tactics. It's like it's really hard to actually suss out what an individual unit in an auto battler is doing. I think there are things you could do to help that, but I think that's just kind of like a weakness of the auto battler genre. I'd absolutely love it if there were cards that could only be obtained by alchemizing very specific cards together. This also makes players explore new combinations instead of creating what works best. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I think the problem with that is I'd have to come up with a bunch of combinations of cards and then create brand new cards for each combination. And then there's a problem of discoverability, right? Like, do I hint to the player that there's certain interactions if you alchemize these things together? I think maybe a stopgap solution for that is just to have alchemy have a chance to output a totally random new card that can only come from alchemy. So it could be like the alchemy process spits out a homunculus, and the only way to get a homunculus is by doing alchemy and getting lucky. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily like recipe based, but it is like a chance to drop unique cards that you can only get through the alchemy system. And then, of course, you know, like I can have reagents that guarantee certain outputs, right? So if it's like, if you only have like a 1% chance of getting a homunculus from from just doing a random alchemy, you could get a reagent that guarantees that you get a homunculus out of it. You know what I mean? I think that might be like, I think the reagent system is going to be kind of where like I focus the recipe kind of stuff. But we'll see. Like, I think it's, a lot of this stuff is up in the air. Ball X Pit has a catalog of discovered ball combinations, how to create them. It only shows a silhouette until it's discovered. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, and the other thing too is like, you know, I do have to manage the scope of this game a little bit. I have to be cautious about what new stuff I add. If a new feature or a new system is going to add a lot to the game, then I'll definitely consider it. But we do need to start, or I need to start getting to the point where, you know, I can actually finish the game. And I have been in that state. I really haven't been adding new features unless you count like the Alchemy reworks that are happening. But yeah, I'm just trying to use the systems that I already have in place as much as possible. But if we need to add a new system, if I need to add a new system, then that will happen. I'm not going to release Alchemortis until I'm very happy with the output. I'm definitely going to be a lot more critical of the game design than I was with Gunforged. And if Alchemortis needs to stay in development for longer, then that's what I'll do. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we are going to get these legendary abilities tied into the alchemy system, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, give me just 3 minutes. I'll be right back, and we will continue on. All right, I'm back. Let's hop into the Alchemy Manager. Oops, that's not the Alchemy Manager. Alchemy Manager in here, and then we need to figure out what to do about these legendaries. So make legendary not deterministic. That is also a problem. Get randomized output. Legendary outputs remaining. Non-reagent input cards. Get randomized output. So I think I want to do something a little bit weird here. What I'm going to do here is we will do... So the problem is I changed so that every input you add to the alchemy system is guaranteed as an output, meaning if I put an incense card in the alchemy system, I will get an incense card out of the alchemy system, but its abilities and its stats will be randomized. However, I do have this legendary chance here, but I can also guarantee a legendary output with the lead ingot, and the lead ingot is a reagent. So the problem here is that the lead ingot will make a random input legendary. But the way that the code is currently structured, it will actually just make the first card in the list legendary. So I actually need to spread out those legendaries across all of the cards. So we've got this legendary outputs remaining number here. I think what I need to do is I need to do... I'm thinking I'll just create like an array that's the same length as the non-reagent input cards here. And then I will randomly assign an index, a legendary index, or maybe what I'll do is something a little bit simpler here. Var legendary array is equal to new bool. And then we'll do legendary outputs remaining. What is this legendary outputs remaining? I don't think I need this anymore. We're going to get rid of that because I'm doing this all ahead of time now. So guaranteed legendary outputs remaining, we'll get rid of that. So this will become guaranteed legendary outputs. Okay. So, for var I equals 0, I is less than legendary array. Oh wait, no, this needs to be non-reagent input cards dot count. Legendary array. So I is less than legendary array dot length, and I is less than guaranteed legendary outputs. We're going to set the legendary array to true, the index. So did I do that logic right? So we're going to create an array of the same length of the non-reagent input cards. Then we're going to iterate over that array. We're going to make sure that the index is less than that array length, but also less than the guaranteed legendary outputs. So if I have an array of length 4, but I have one guaranteed output, this should only do once. But if I have, let's say I did something stupid and I put 3 lead ingots in with 1 card, then this would also just change the first element and not go beyond. So I think that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this very easily. Legendary array is equal to legendary array order by Matthew Till RNG randef dot to array. Done. So I just stuff the first n elements with trues and then shuffle them up. And then in here, what we can do is we can just pass along this bool is legendary. And this would be legendary array. Oh, I need to do a standard for loop here. Okay, that'll work. And then this is legendary here. Let's rename this. Is guaranteed legendary. Okay. Is legendary is equal to is, let's rename this actually. Is guaranteed legendary. is legendary is equal to is guaranteed legendary, or we're going to make the chance take effect. Okay. I am going to do something in here. Oops. Alchemy, negative abilities. Oops. Get random negative ability. Let's do this. Private base composed ability. Get random legendary ability. Base card, 4 card. Var legendary abilities is equal to legendary abilities dot abilities. Index is equal to mathutil randi range. Length -1. Return legendary abilities index dot duplicate 4 card. Cool. And then what we do down here is we've got this is legendary. So right now what the legendary card does is it gets the max tier of any card. It gets the minimum cooldown of any card in the input. It gets all of the enchantments of the inputs. And it also gets the best crit chance and crit multiplier. So that's already very, very powerful. It still requires you to do some finesse. If you know you're going to plan a legendary card, you're going to have to like use, apply your cards a little bit strategically. But here, what we're going to do is we're going to do this. If is legendary, we're going to do base card dot add composed abilities. And then we're going to do alchemy manager dot get random legendary ability. Okay. So I think that's going to work. Now let's go ahead and modify. Let's go and modify this legendary chance. It's 3% right now. Let's just make it a 100% chance. And we'll see what happens. Oh, I should probably also change this run manager here. Here, remove that. We don't want to add legendaries to the cards immediately. Okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and alchemize some things here. Boom, boom. And we've got 2 legendary cards. Copies heal abilities of all allied cards. Very nice. Apply 1 fire. Fire applied increases by 1. So yeah, there we go. All right. So that works. Let's go ahead and put the legendary chance back. But I will also give myself a lead ingot. And we'll see what happens. Guarantees a legendary result when used in alchemy. So boom, 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 boom. And we got 1 legendary output, which is great. Copies all heal abilities of allied cards. Nice. Very cool, very cool. Nice. All right. And then I can take this, put that there. Not enough blood. Okay. And then if I add some more blood, legendary cards are not alchemizable. So that's the other thing. Legendary cards are immutable now. I don't know if I'm going to keep that. I am kind of torn. Some people don't like that they're immutable. But the immutability of legendary cards is part of an attempt to restrain their power. So the idea is that if you get a legendary output, that's it. It's set in stone. And if you got lucky, then you got lucky. If you planned for the legendary to happen, for instance, if you applied a lead ingot or whatever, then there you go. You got your legendary card. But, you know, like, that's it. That this card's power can no longer increase after it's legendary. So I know a lot of people don't like that, but there still is the problem of how to restrain the power of legendary cards, especially now that they have legendary abilities. So, I mean, one kind of like middle ground is, I mentioned this before, one middle ground is to introduce a reagent that's relatively rare that can strip the legendary status of a card, but otherwise, like, the card remains the same. So all it does is it just removes the legendary flag, but the card retains all of its stats and all of its abilities. And so from that point, you can then start upgrading it again. You could even alchemize the legendary ability potentially onto something else. I think that would be a good middle ground. So legendary cards are immutable, but you have a way of stripping legendary status from a card. Honey, what are you doing? Honey. The dog is eating cardboard. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. So yeah, I think that is one approach to the legendary items. But yeah, we'll have to see. There's a lot to consider here. Obviously more playtesting to be done. But we're getting very close to the point where I could do another playtest of the game, release another playtest of the game. So I'm hoping that that's all right. Your dog is eating cardboard? Is it secretly a cat? Seriously? Well, what he's doing is he's eating the cardboard shreddings off the floor from what the cats are doing with their claws. It's just like the animals are working together. They're working together. Sorry, 1 second. I just got to do this thing real quick. So yeah, I think there's a lot to consider. But I do think I want to do some experimentation with some new reagents. But I think what I might do is sorry, 1 second. Got to take care of this. Okay. Yeah, experiment with some reagents, add some new reagents that can make the alchemy a little bit more interesting. Add some more reagents that can guarantee certain outputs. I think it's going to work. What do you think the next course will be about? I don't know. That's a good question. We'll see. We'll see. I'm hoping any change you make removes my dislike of them ruining cards in a run due to random legendary outputs and having to rebuild said card. Yeah, I think I'm hoping that all of the alchemy changes that I've made are just generally going to make cards better. It's going to generally make alchemy more appealing. And if you get a legendary card that you weren't expecting, I'm hoping that at least it won't be a net negative. Like, it might, maybe it will remove some abilities that you were hoping to preserve. But at the same time, if you're now getting all the best stats of your inputs plus a legendary ability, which is going to be like far and away more powerful than any other card ability, then it may kind of like quote unquote ruin the build that you're going for, but the power of the legendary might compensate for that and allow you to build something different or like move into a different build. And also with the alchemy system changes that are happening, you're not just limited to 3 outputs anymore. You're going to have the number of outputs is going to be equal to the number of inputs. And so, yeah, one of the cards might be legendary, but if you put 4 cards in the alchemy, for instance, and you get 1 legendary out, you still have 3 other choices that will have 1 additional ability than they otherwise would have and could still have the abilities that you were trying to alchemize, right? I guess the only real risk where you could brick an item with the alchemy system is if it's the only input in the alchemy system, like you put it in with a bunch of reagents and then it spits out a legendary. But in that case, the item wouldn't change much anyway because there are no other abilities to randomize. So the output that you get is going to be basically the same as the input, except it's just going to be kind of like bricked now because you can't change it. But yeah, we'll have to play test that. A lot of the power of my builds actually comes from enchants most times, which is why I dislike them. I think the enchants... Yeah, so I did add more enchantments. So I think the more powerful enchants are going to be less common now. And I could also make the enchant node less common, generally speaking, as well. Like, let's see. Well, I don't have a... Let's see. I'm going to do this. Debug, fog reveal radius, 3000. Or let's just do 300, it's fine. Generate test map off. So let's just see. So we've got 1 enchant here. Actually, there aren't many enchants on this map. There's 2 enchants. 3. Yeah, so I mean, I could reduce how common the enchant nodes are, but I've also added more enchants to the enchant pool, so the stronger enchants are going to be less frequent anyway. YouTube is being annoying, and good morning. Good morning to you as well. So... Anyway, yeah, this is going to require playtesting for sure, but maybe what I'll do is I'll just do a quick little playtest. I'm not going to be able to do the whole build or the whole run because I do have to go relatively soon, but we are going to just go ahead and give it a quick test. We'll see how it feels. And then we'll go from there. I get a lot of enchants because of shops. Shops are king for getting what you want. Oh, I got you. Okay. Transforms 1 nearby node into a shop node. All nearby shop nodes will contain cards upgraded by an additional tier. Let's do that. Nice. Okay. Put the skeletons there. I probably don't want to go to that shop node just yet, though. Maybe I'll go around to these combats and collect some money first. Let's see. Health upgrade nodes, transform super card upgrade nodes. Let's try this. Hopefully it doesn't change my shop. I don't think it will. Okay, that's fine. We can upgrade my Skeletron. This should upgrade by 2 tiers. There we go. We go over here. Fight these torches. Very cool. Grab this over here. Got that blood, and then I'm gonna... Oh no, this eyeball! Come on, dude! I wanted to go here. Okay, tell you what. I'm gonna go this way first, and then I'm gonna wrap around back to the shop. I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit. This eyeball, man. It's ruined my... It ruined my plans. Okay, I'll go this way. Okay, it went away. It went away, good. Actually, maybe I just take this hit and I go and hit that before the eyeball comes back. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna upgrade this guy again, actually. Oh no, I can't do that. Okay. This guy then. What does the eyeball mean? What the eyeball does is it just applies an additional notoriety penalty to any node within its radius. So you can see that this says notoriety penalty increased by 4 because it's under the watch of the Inquisition, right? So the eyeball is basically just like this little thing that floats around and adds additional notoriety penalty to nodes. Just a little element in the game that can disrupt your pathfinding plans, adds more choice, because there's like, I can still visit this node. I'm just going to take a 9 notoriety penalty instead of a 5. So it just reduces the number of total nodes I can visit in practice. All right, what do I want? Paralyze adjacent cards, projects to adjacent allied cards, heal 3. That's a good one. Started combat, gain 3 additional blood after every combat. The artifact system is something I need to get back to as well. I haven't made a new artifact in a while, but also I think some artifacts are not as strong as they could be. Upgraded card, alchemical reagents. Do I want reagents? Let's do reagents. Flint, Beast Claw, output cards have an additional 10% critical chance. Adds the following ability as a guaranteed alchemy output, convert all preserved to fire. Okay. I am going to unlock these, move this guy over, put the morale there, and then I think we're good to go. Grab some more reagents, grab some boosters here. Okay. Heal and minion cards, fire and alchemical cards. Well, I don't have money for those anyway, so. Ooh. Skeleton Dragon. Apply 6 preserve per allied ritual card. I don't really have ritual cards, so we're going to sell that. Do I want the salamander? I'm trying to think what I want to do here. I've got a lead ingot for a legendary alchemy. Skeleton Dragon. Let me do this. Oh, can I not make room for the salamander? Okay, we're not going to do poison. We'll get rid of the death cap. Oh, that still doesn't help. I'm not very bright. Okay, we'll get rid of the death orchid. Oh, I can't close this. Okay. Take the salamander here. Okay. I want to do this with flint and beast claw. And we'll throw the salamander in as well. Let's see what happens. Apply 4 fire, apply... Oh, I lost the heal ability. Apply 20% blind to self. Oh, the 20% blind to self doesn't work. I need to fix that. Honey. Are you eating cardboard again? Anyway. The blind to self doesn't work. Critical chance reduced by 30%. Oh, that sucks. Well, I guess we could take this one. I lost my heal, but that's all right. Increase board size. I don't need that. I need money. Let's go here. Started with Godot this week, doing clear code tutorials. We'll try to make some small games by myself. Awesome. Great to hear that, Pedro. Does the eye have a blinking animation? It could be a fun little animation for it to have. Yeah, the eye is kind of like an unfinished system. I haven't really polished it up too much. I'm mostly just trying to still judge if it's a good feature or not. A lot of this is going to have to come down to the play test and what you guys all feel about it. We'll do enchant. Oh, it changed a shop. That's all right. I've got 3 enchant nodes here. I'll hit this one. This will allow me to enchant something. Converts all fire applied to heal. Echo, turn cooldown reduced by 1. I'm actually going to do this. Now this will heal me for 6. So I got some healing back. Oh, I can use that one again. Interesting. I'm just going to do Echo on the skeleton. Let's grab some more cards. I don't know how I'm feeling about this, my build here. Ay. We can sell the candle. I might have to sell this dragon. I don't want to sell the skeleton dragon. Look how cool it is. Okay, goodbye. Sorry, dragon. I think I need to make some room on my board. Can I do that? Or I can alchemize. Maybe I'll alchemize. Alchemize squid and that. I would love to get some squid abilities on the axe here. Apply 2 poison, applies 25% blind. I didn't get what I wanted, but the squid is still very strong here. And it's been upgraded by a tier. 9 turn cooldown. That is very strong, actually. So maybe I should figure out how to finesse this into here. I'm obviously going to need to unlock this. I need 12 more blood to unlock those cells. Okay. Am I going to be able to do that before I hit the boss? 5 and 4. Well, that's 6 blood. I think I can hit these 3 combats here. That's 12. Yeah, I can hit those 3 combats. That should give me enough. Assuming I win these combats. We'll see. So I win those combats. Go here. Can you ever increase your stash size? Not right now. I think that might be part of the meta progression system to add another row to your inventory. And I may also shrink this stash size here for like when you start a new game, and then make these stash upgrades like meta progression oriented. But I don't know that. I don't know for sure if that's going to work that way yet. Boom, giant squid. Here we go. Ooh, very nice. Okay. We can fight this guy, and then we'll be right into the right into the boss fight here. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this so far. Excellent. Awesome. So I did use Alchemy a couple of times there. I think, so I was mulling around this idea yesterday. Instead of spending blood to increase your board size, I think the Alchemy system will, well, one idea is for the Alchemy system to give you some kind of secondary currency, like alchemical residue, I think somebody said. And then you have to use the alchemical residue to upgrade or to unlock slots on your board instead of blood. So that would be a further incentive. Like, that would be a way of very nicely basically make alchemy required for the game. So I want to experiment with that for sure. I think there are a couple of problems. I think alchemy is a lot more attractive now. I think it's a lot less punishing. The RNG is not as, I guess, swingy is the word. Like, generally speaking, the alchemy produces better results and gives you better options. I think that's true. And so the remaining, well, there's a couple of remaining questions, but the main remaining question is, how do I further push the player into the alchemy system? Like, I don't want the player to be able to get away with going through the whole run without using alchemy. And that may involve, there's a number of levers there. It may involve reducing things like the power of enchantments. It may involve reducing the raw power of cards. Or it may just involve increasing the combat difficulty more past the initial phase, like ramp up the difficulty, not exponentially, but as you get deeper into the map, the difficulty should ramp up more to the point where you basically are required to create alchemical synergies. We have the alchemical residue as a secondary currency. That is an idea to push people into the alchemy system. So yeah, I think it's moving in the right direction. There are still some remaining issues that I need to resolve here, the game design issues. But yeah, I think that's probably the next thing that I will do, is probably experiment with like an alchemical residue. The question is, do I want to do that before the next playtest or not? I think I do, because I really want to nail down this alchemy. So experiment with alchemical residue currency, which is used in alchemy, which is rewarded by alchemy. Alchemical residue is used to unlock board cells. Forcing people to alchemize trash for currency does not seem very elegant. Alchemical residue should be used for alchemy benefits. Well, it's not. Yeah, I guess maybe people would just alchemize cards that they have no interest in. But the problem is, I don't know if that's necessarily a problem. Because let's say that you're just alchemizing trash to create your to get your alchemical residue, and you get a legendary output, and it's got a really nice legendary ability. Well, now all of a sudden it's not trash anymore, you know? Could you shift some power of alchemy to reagents? No, it's the wrong problem. It's not that alchemy is too powerful. It's that I want players to feel very incentivized to use the alchemy system. So it's not a question of the alchemy's power. I want players to have to engage with the alchemy system as a core mechanic of the game. And right now it's relatively easy to get away with basically not engaging with the alchemy system. And so the other thing I like about the alchemical residue idea is that it very clearly shows the player that, hey, there's this currency that you can only get by engaging with this mechanic. Because one thing I've noticed too is that when a lot of people play the game, this is a player education problem as well, but they will basically never interact with the alchemy system. They just look at the cards that they're getting and they try to build their build with that, and like the alchemy is just sitting there being unused and untouched. And so the one thing that I do like about the alchemical residue idea is that you have this very clear indicator on screen that there's this currency which can only be used by interacting, or can only be gained by interacting with alchemy. And if you want to increase the size of your board, for instance, you need this residue. So it basically forces the player into this pipeline where they have to go to the alchemy system, they have to alchemize cards together to get their residue to upgrade their board size, but at the same time, they're interacting with the alchemy system and they're seeing how it works and they're getting new cards as outputs, and they can, they're basically being forced into that system to increase their power. So I guess that's the reason why I like the alchemical residue idea as a currency output of alchemy, is because it kind of solves a bunch of problems at once. Now, it might introduce problems like, people feel bad just throwing a bunch of trash at the alchemy to get the alchemical residue. So, yeah, I mean, I can see it both ways. Are the abilities given to a card from alchemy still completely random? It just adds an additional slot. Yes, all the abilities on the card will be randomized. That can change. Whether that changes through a reagent or just from the base alchemy system remains to be seen. If half the rewards are reagents and reagents are only used in alchemy, you are nudging them to use alchemy. So half of the rewards are, so you're suggesting to increase the amount of reagents that the player gets? I like that idea of using the residue as currency to increase the board size instead of blood. Yeah. I like it too. I mean, I think really the only problem with that system would be what Tom said here, which is that maybe people just feel like they have to get rid of cards to get that currency. And I think, there are a number of ways to solve that. I think one way to solve that is just to introduce a reagent that increases the amount of alchemical residue that's generated from an alchemy output. So that, when a player encounters that reagent or whatever, they feel less obligated to just dump a bunch of cards in. I think one problem that I am going to end up with, as more reagents and making reagents more powerful, possibly of shifting some power away from the base alchemy itself. I think that's already kind of in place. I have some pretty powerful reagents, like all poison abilities on a card are preserved. That's pretty powerful. Increasing the critical chance by quite a lot, making a card a guaranteed legendary. So I think maybe, so one problem that I can see with the alchemical residue system, just going back to that, is that the card economy is going to be a little bit tough because you need cards for alchemy, you need cards for your board, And you also need to sacrifice cards to resurrect if you die. And so I could see one problem coming up, which is that the player is not getting enough cards or reagents to really sustain the alchemy system. So I might have to think of... I think I'm going to have problems with the card economy if I add that alchemical residue currency. Which is fine, because I already think that there kind of are problems with the card economy. I wonder if part of the problem of alchemy not being that appealing is that every card I get, I just want to put it immediately on my board. I don't really feel like I have enough cards to play with. I feel like right now, alchemizing a card is a little bit too risky compared to just putting it on my board and getting the guaranteed power. So maybe part of fixing that is, yeah, giving the player more reagents so they can have more predictable alchemy outcomes, but also just giving the player more cards, like maybe making the player feel more free to quote unquote throw cards away in an attempt to create something good is what I'm after. Maybe right now the problem is that the card rewards are not frequent enough, and so it's hard to make the decision to sacrifice them or use them in an alchemy. Can also add them to shops, add artifacts, and add artifacts cause you to gain more. Yeah, that could work for sure. Maybe like an offering altar where you convert blood to other resources. Yeah, I mean, that does open up a bunch of potential. I mean, I have a bunch of ideas for events that I want to have in the game, like nodes. Like one event that I want to do is a card copy event where you could take a card and it just gets duplicated, like all of its abilities, all of its stats. You just get a second copy of that card. I think that would be really fun. Converting resources, blood to alchemical residue or alchemical residue to blood would definitely be a good one. A mini boss event that offers certain rewards. Like, we're definitely not done with the content. It's just right now I'm trying to decide, you know, are the problems here because of a lack of content, or are the problems here because of deeper issues? And I think it's mostly because of deeper issues. So anyway, there's a lot to think about here. When you sell this card, you gain 2 random cards with a chance to gain an additional random card. Okay, interesting. As an enchant. Okay, yeah, I like that one. I think playing around with a lot more cards could be a good test. Yeah, I agree. I think the card, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that the cards are really a limiting factor here. The fact that I don't feel like I'm getting enough cards to freely play with. If I want players to interact with the alchemy system, I need to give them the tools to do that frequently. So yeah, I need to think more, because right now really the only source of cards, the only reliable source of cards right now is the booster nodes, and you have to explicitly travel to those. So I mean, I could offer cards as a reward to combat. I could increase the amount of cards that are offered in boosters. I could I don't know. I have to think about that. Do you get cards after fights? I don't remember. You don't. You don't right now. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I need to add cards as a rewards for after fights. So like maybe combat should be the primary like resource generation mechanism. So if you need blood and you need cards, the way to do that is to engage with combat. And then the other nodes are basically just supplemental, right? Like a booster node is just if you want extra cards, go to the booster node. The enchant is just like, hey, add some extra power, upgrade, add some extra power, but the main way to gain the resources that you need is through combat. That might be the way to do it. That might be the way to do it. Maybe boosters could be for more targeted cards. Well, that's what I'm thinking. So like the boosters already are targeted. So the boosters will say like offers cards with fire abilities or offers cards with poison abilities. You know what I might do as well is I might just... Right now the boosters have 3 different cost tiers. I might just make all the boosters free now that they all have individually set cards. So there's a bunch of changes that I want to make here, I guess. With combat giving you random stuff, yeah. Maybe combat nodes can have a high difficulty option with a card reward instead of blood, or an optional second phase. Yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe put information about the cards that you get in the booster available on the map. That already exists, yeah. So if I look at... where's a booster here? Contains blind, damage, preserve, relic, minion, and alchemical cards. So it already does give you information about what's there. So the boosters are more targeted. Could they be even more targeted? Maybe. But then, yeah, the combat could just offer you random cards. Just totally random. Maybe combine it with your mini-boss node idea, like specific mini-boss could give you specific cards which are harder to obtain from other sources. Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. So, as you can see, there's a lot of levers that I have to pull here. There's a lot of different directions to go. I do think that I want to do 2 things. I want to experiment with alchemical residue as an idea, and I also want to increase the amount of card rewards that you get. And I'm hoping that those 2 things make alchemy a lot more engaging, a lot more fun, and a lot more appealing. That's going to mess up the blood economy and everything, but that's all right. I'll figure it out. Shops are not that often. Right. Okay. Well, we've got some work to do. But like I said earlier on the stream, like this is just how the development is going to go. I'm going to keep working on and reworking stuff until it feels really tight and really good, really satisfying. And there's probably going to be many more reworks between now and release of various systems, but we're going to do it. I'm not going to drop the ball on this game. I'm not going to drop the ball. Anyway, I do have to hop off now, but thank you all for watching. I'm just going to commit this, add legendary abilities to Alchemy. So I'm just going to commit that. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me think through these ideas and fix my game design issues. I very much appreciate it. It's very helpful. If you want, you can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. You can also check out the other links in the description below. The Discord is linked below. My Udemy courses are linked below. All that good stuff. I will not be streaming tomorrow, so I will see you Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I hope you have a great weekend. And we'll get Alchemortis feeling really good. All right. Thanks again, everybody. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.